all set and ready for the Austrian Grand Prix. And guess what, girlies?
What?
The hills are alive with the sound of F1. The Red Bull ring is set, the atmosphere is electric, and the grid is stacked with drivers ready to fight for everything they have. We've seen some drivers underdeliver and others overdeliver, which has brought us an exciting, shaken-up grid. It's time to unleash the beast of competition because, as they say, Red Bull gives you wings, but only one driver can truly fly today. But here at Grand Prix HQ, we've found the championship energy has been flowing like an ice bucket filled with your favourite cans. We're talking monster energy levels of excitement, a real rock star lineup with drivers wanting to boost themselves up the order, and it might even be a few Celsius degrees hotter than usual. Predictions have been made, the gauntlet has been thrown down, the blenders have been whirring, and today we're ready to unveil our liquid gold, or dare I say, liquid podium creations. I've challenged the girlies to come up with their own energy drinks inspired by the drivers that they think have what it takes to conquer Austria today. So get ready to find out which drive we've put our money and taste buds on to win in Austria, and what wild and wonderful concoctions we've brewed up. We've gone full throttle and have a flavour for who we think will be sipping on glory today. The Grand Prix is just moments away, but the Grand Prix are primed and ready to give you a taste of who we think has got the fuel for victory.
I like
Very
it.
nice. Very high energy.
Thank you so much. It's because it's an energy drink themed intro.
It all makes sense. In which case, I'm bouncing off the walls.
Sorry, was that not? I said monster levels of energy.
Rock
Star lineup.
Oh, you are clever.
Wanting to boost them. Well, not very
Well,
obvious enough.
I don't drink energy drinks, so I wouldn't know.
You see them in shops.
Yeah.
You see them on adverts.
I look past.
You see them on cars. Well, another moment I've tried really hard at, and it's only been once I've
But we
explained
loved it anyway.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, who's got their first energy drink? Question mark.
Is this your energy drink crash?
who's got their? I think it's the heat. Who's got their first energy drink driver?
Drink
who's
driver?
got- no.
We don't promote that.
Sorry. Okay. Who's got their first energy drink driver concept ready to rock and roll?
Oh, I like the can opening
Thank
noise.
you.
Very nice.
Reem, do you want to go first?
Sure.
So these are based on our predictions, which were put on our
Instagram and
socials.
TikTok.
Yeah, before the race. So if you're not following us on our socials,
What are you
we
doing?
on. Yeah, exactly. What
Sorry.
are you doing?
Sorry
We're
for the
on
aggression.
Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube. Make sure you follow us so then you can see and understand some of the things that we do in the episode, because it all ties in perfectly
does.
well.
So my prediction for who's going to win the race is Max Verstappen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Da,
this is...
da, da, da. Max Verstappen. Da, 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 da.
I don't know the lyrics.
I don't care. It's
Max Verstappen.
Da, 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 da. Whether you like Max Verstappen, love Max Verstappen, hate Max Verstappen, indifferent to Max Verstappen, that song slaps.
It's catchy.
It is.
Okay, so my energy drink name is Dutch Please. A bold blend of apple and orange engineered for performance. Created for the heat of the Austrian Grand Prix, Dutch Please is a crisp, energizing drink that delivers hydration with flavor, blending Austrian and Dutch apples with a clean hit of orange citrus, in tribute to the heritage and dominance of Max Verstappen. Light, refreshing, and just the right amount of punchy, it's the kind of drink that comes through even when the odds don't. Inspired by race days where starting in P7 doesn't stop a champion from taking the win, this is fuel for fans who know that nothing is over until the checkered flag. Enjoy chilled straight from the can or add Prosecco to celebrate a podium-worthy moment. Flavor, apple and orange. Format, non-alcoholic but mixable. And mood, summer heat, late charges, and Red Bull country.
Wow. I thought Apple was tying in Brat Summer. So I was a bit like, don't get it. I'm not understanding.
No, it's
Also,
I-
old trend.
Yeah, exactly.
But I looked up the national fruits of Austria, Belgium, and the Netherlands, and they're all apples.
That's crazy.
Oh.
ChatGPT really working for you today, baby.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
there we go. I knew you didn't do that. You're such a fucking liar.
Well, I'm the one who
You outed
searched
her
it.
anyway. I liked it. That was good.
I very much
you.
liked it. I was
I'm not
expecting-
sold on the flavour. I personally wouldn't go for an apple and orange flavoured drink.
Oh, fair. Listen, it's not for everyone,
Yeah,
but it's for the people who want to win. So if you're happy not
Oh.
winning,
Oh.
then that's okay by me.
bitch, I always win.
Dutch, please.
Dutch, please.
Yeah, to the untrained eye, it being apple and orange and being called Dutch, it's quite fruity.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
comes across like Max Verstappen is on the fruitier scale of things.
Well, maybe he is. We don't know his personal life that
as
well.
a child that
Yeah,
he's just had with a long
bisexual
term.
people exist.
That's what you're in Pride Month, no less. You're outing as bisexual with his fruity drink.
Maybe he doesn't like labels. Maybe he's exploring.
Oh God, we've gone so far off piste already. Okay, Nav.
Oh, I'm up next?
Yes.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we're going to have a feverishly bitchy debate on whose was best.
Mine.
And it's already begun.
So I predicted that the winner of the Austrian Grand Prix was going to be Oscar Piastri.
Ooh.
I'm just going to start. But just imagine in your head as I'm reading this start bit, the music that's like... You know the music?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just imagine that as I'm reading this first bit. Are you tired of moving at a boring, normal person's speed? Do you want super fast, laser-sharp reaction times to impress everyone around you who thinks you're incapable of making decisions on the fly? Introducing Piastrum, the only energy drink energized with the ice-cold calm and deadly precision of Oscar Piastri. Made with extract of Apex for cornering your life choices at 180 miles per hour. Chilled Aussie composure because panic is for basic bitches. 8 milligrams of nicotine from Velo and McLaren sweet papaya pouches
Oh.
because the business hustle never stops. And 1 teaspoon of Vegemite for flavour. Whether you're dodging cars on your way to work, outpacing deadlines, or just trying to make it through a water-cooler conversation with a teammate you've been outperforming, Piastrum delivers a smooth, unstoppable, and sometimes terrifying efficiency and brain power you didn't know you needed. Piastrum. Drink calm, drive chaos. Available now in Melbourne Menthol, Telemetry Tangerine, and Emotion-Free Vanilla. Warning, side effects may include a tingling lower lip and gum line, as well as a nicotine addiction.
Oh my God.
She said she did one apple and orange, and hers has Vegemite.
Yes, and nicotine.
Slaps.
That drink sounds terrifying.
I tell you what, your drink sounds actually minging, like sincerely minging. So bad that I've had to bring out a bit of slang from the UK back in the fucking day. I tell you what it would be. I feel like it would go unironically viral because people would do the Piastrum challenge.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't.
I've created a
it
viral
would lead
moment.
to mass hysteria and maybe a few deaths. So
And it would be made illegal very
it
quick.
would be quickly returned and rescinded off shelves.
Sales will soar because as soon as someone does the challenge, guess what? They're hooked on nicotine and they need to keep getting it.
And as soon as someone dies from the challenge, you'll be held liable and you'd have to pay a lot of money.
Nah.
I can't wait for our merch to be Dutch, please, and Piastrum for no reason. No one asked. I like it.
Thank you.
It was very witty.
Mm-hmm.
It went from sort of it was quite a. I was hoping you'd do an Australian accent, but you went for a really heavy American accent. It was sort of like maybe Zach Brown was doing it.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with how you were able to make such an interesting and very chaotic drink
Out of
for
someone
a
boring.
person that's so boring.
But that's why I had to include the no emotion vanilla flavour.
Oh yes.
Yeah, what were the flavours? They were
It was-
Melbourne menthol,
Yeah.
telemetry,
Tangerine.
and the last one.
No emotion vanilla.
So you're describing him in bed. Allegedly. We didn't get that far. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry. Oh God, what will the press say?
Right, your
Someone
turn.
stop me. Thank you, Nav. Jesus. Okay. It's time for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because he came into Monaco and he was all over it and did an amazing comeback drive. I have a hunch he's going to do the same thing at the Austrian Grand Prix because he looked like a bit of a tit last time out. So, I have a drink that's all about Lando Norris. Are you ready?
Mhm.
Yes.
Is yours apple brat flavour? Is that why you thought that she went for that?
No.
Oh, okay.
You felt that, didn't you? That surge. That feeling we've got bottled up. Because today, I'm sipping on something truly tantalising.
Oh.
Welcome to the brand new energy drink that's as cheeky as it is bold. It's the LN4 Love Potion. Ever wanted to gulp a drink that's sweet? Sip on something that charms your taste buds? Experience a mouthful that is truly bubbly, bouncy, and leaves you wanting more? Well, for the Austrian Grand Prix, I've got the perfect energy drink that will give you a pep in your step and equip you to fight any battle with a refreshing burst that puts a smile on your face, just like Lando's post-race interviews. Now don't get it folded, flipped and twisted. It's not all sweetness and bubbles. The taste is bold, aggressively tasty, and when it's served at its best, can deliver a powerful and exhilarating fizz. It's got a precise racecraft-winning kick that will propel you forward and keep you feeling cutesy and refreshed every single time. So, are you ready to ignite your potential? Are you ready to taste the sweet thrill of victory, feel the bold fizz of pure performance, and live life in full papaya and neon yellow? Then this is the drink for you, because believe me, it's not just another energy drink. This is the taste of victory, handcrafted for those who crave the edge, that want to feel that sweet, unstoppable momentum. This is LN4 Love Potion.
So what actually is the flavour?
I didn't give that.
You said it was like victory, sweet victory. I never actually once said what the flavour is.
Also, it started off kind of sexual.
Yeah.
I felt uncomfortable.
Very.
Listen, he's a heartthrob. I'm only saying what other people are thinking about him late at night.
Oh, okay.
The sex sells, and it's a love potion.
Right.
They'll only fall more in love with Lando's cutesy, sweetie McPie face sort of energy.
Right, okay.
The flavour is full papaya and neon yellow.
Okay.
The fuck? Neon yellow sounds like radioactive illness waiting to happen.
It's the colour of his race helmet.
Chernobyl flavour.
It's the colour of his race... How dare you? It's the colour of his race helmet. It's Miss Vegemite over here.
But it fit the theme.
Yes, but it doesn't...
Aussie.
But my energy drink is... It supersedes linear nonsenses like flavour. It tastes like an
So I think you
experience.
sell with flavour.
You sell with experience.
And you don't have any.
How dare you?
Dutch, please. Getting catty in here. Right, are
think
we
it's-
ready for the bitchy conversation about who did best?
Okay, so we know who came in first.
Me.
Who came in second? Was it you or you?
Fuck
No,
off.
was
It was me. I came first.
Listen,
think-
let's be
I
nice about
think-
this. We're all best friends.
I think mine sounds like the most legitimate drink.
Oh, that's what we were asking for. A legitimate drink.
Just so you know, we're not actually creating and selling
Yes,
these.
but we might. If we make enough money, we could sell them. But I think mine sounds appetizing. I think it had a storyline. It has a very fun and catchy name. How many times
Yours
have we said?
throws
how many-
question into
excuse
what
me,
Max Verstappen's sexual
excuse-
orientation is. That is all
excuse-
you've done is create a
ex-
shitstorm of a story.
That's all allegations from you. Excuse me, let me talk. How many times have you said Dutch, please? Since I said the name of my drink.
It's
caught
context
on.
of the conversation.
It's caught on. So I think I'm the clear winner.
Oh, Dutch, please.
I think we had the longest and funniest conversation after mine, and you even said that mine would go viral.
For
Yes,
killing people.
yes.
No. No.
Yours sounds dangerous.
Not in like an exhilarating way. Like, oh my god, my heart stopped
And
kind
also
of way.
disgusting.
No, I think mine. Okay, let's stop looking at the product. Let's look at the pitch.
No, but
Stop looking at the product
it's
and
about the
start looking at
product.
the pitch.
If we're
Who
looking, we're
had
not
the best
looking at the
pitch?
product or the flavour of the product, then we're looking at the pitch. Then Dutch,
Mine.
please, I'm
No.
right here. No, Dutch, please.
No,
Dutch,
no,
please.
it wasn't Dutch, please.
Yes,
No,
it
me. I'm
was
saying Dutch, please to you. It's mine.
No, it was mine. My pitch.
LN4
Okay,
Love
we're gonna
Potion.
run a poll on Instagram.
Yes.
and we're gonna let the audience decide.
I'm gonna find so many people to vote for mine.
You're
It's
gonna,
hit you
you're
in
gonna
the
make
mouth.
60 accounts on Instagram to vote for yours.
More followers, we'll take it. All right. Well, I won, and moving on to
No, Dutch, please.
moving on to Izzy's quali lap. Then I guess
Piastrum. It does sound like a sort of industrial solvent.
it
It doesn't
sounds.
sound like something I'd want to put in my mouth.
You wouldn't want to put a drink that's made of nicotine and Vegemite and vanilla.
Honest, I think I eat and drink with my eyes. Seeing something that's called piastrum feels like something like, if something's swollen or itchy, and maybe I'd use it on my skin.
Okay.
But
Think about, being at Pride and walking.
why are you making Max Verstappen the face of
No.
gay people?
No, just
No, sorry. Why have you just said? Imagine I'm at Pride.
Let me finish. Think about being at Pride and you're at
Max
the parade.
Verstappen's
Hey,
twerking on
hey.
the parade
you're at
in
the,
between races.
hey,
Is he
You're at the,
stripping out of his
hey.
race suit?
You're at the parade.
Oh, Dutch, please.
And you're walking under the heat, and it's boiling
I'm
hot.
walking under the heat.
Yes, and it's boiling hot, and there's a stand that's giving out free drinks, and you see a drink that says "Dutch, please." Would you not want it? I mean, do you not?
No,
think
she'd
it's
look at the one
fabulous?
next to it, and it'd say vodka, and she'd be like, "I'll have that."
But mine could be mixable, so we could sell it with
Every
some
drink
little...
in the milk is mixable if you want
not
it to
nicotine.
be.
kidding? Who doesn't love a smoke with a drink?
I wouldn't want it in my drink.
I wouldn't know about that.
Efficiency. Right, back onto the quali lap. You've got 1 minute and 3 seconds.
Oh,
Good luck.
If
What?
only you had some piastrum.
I don't think having tingly gums is going to help me with this.
But the buzz.
Or the saltiness of Vegemite at the back of my throat. I'll just zen out and think about Max Verstappen at Pride handing me out some Dutch please by the pint.
Right, you have 1 minute and 3 seconds. Are you ready to go?
Wait, okay.
Well, whether you are or not. 3, 2, 1, stop.
Q1 of Verstappen set an early P1, but Norris immediately went 4 tenths quicker. Piastri recovered from an early off-track moment to secure P2. Albon and Alonso had a minor slip but improved, with Albon showing a rapid middle sector for P5, Alonso jumping to P8 in his final run. Sainz struggled with reported car damage, ending up in P19, while Tsunoda reported no front grip in P17. Stroll, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sainz and Hülkenberg were out. Q2 and Ferrari started early on used tyres. Max Verstappen complained of no grip, and then a red flag briefly halted the session due to a grass fire. Once the session resumed, a notable performance came from Gabriel Bortoleto, who would put in a strong lap to go into P3. Alonso, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto and Behrman were out. Q3, Norris continued his dominant form, setting provisional pole. Leclerc secured P2 for Ferrari with over half a second adrift from Norris. Piastri settled for P3, affected by a late yellow flag from Gasly's spin, which also hindered Verstappen, who qualified P7. Hamilton took P4, Russell P5 and Lawson impressed with P6. Bortoleto dazzled with P8, Antonelli went P9 and Gasly in P10 rounded out the top 10 in Austria. Weird way.
You ended on such an imperfect cadence that is going to bother my brain for the rest of time. I don't want to have to edit that, so I don't have to listen to it again. Very well done. You finished that with 9 seconds to spare.
Oh.
I'm impressed.
You could have actually finished that sentence.
Yeah, probably.
In Austria. I don't know why I did it like that.
Yeah, Bortoleto really impressed, didn't he?
Bortoleto did bloody and compared to Hülkenberg, who was out in 20th.
Yeah.
He was up in 8th. I
Yeah,
mean, yikes
crazy.
a Rooney. But they did bring upgrades this weekend, I am told. No, I'm not told.
By who?
Literally no one.
Who's your source?
Yeah. Kick Sauber made a change with an alteration to the floor body and the rear wing. They had changes to the mid-floor area that had been done to improve the flow field conditions for the underfloor and gain downforce. And the rear wing has a new assembly which is suited for higher downforce tracks. So clearly working in the right direction because he's in the
In the gods.
yeah, whatever. I sort of put my hand up. I don't know why.
And with all that said and done, it's time to watch the race.
Let's go racing. Well. That was well. That was a very enjoyable Austrian Grand Prix, was it not?
That was very enthusiastic for you.
Oh, sorry. Well.
Going back to your Lando drink, are you? That was, I mean, the retirements were like the big news story for me.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen.
Well, I
Out.
mean, before we even got started with the race
Excuse me, I
properly.
was doing a dramatic. I was going to call and response.
Oh.
Max Verstappen.
Out.
Gone.
Girls. Max Verstappen.
Dutch,
Out.
please.
Oh my god. Moving on.
Should we start off with the person who didn't really actually start the race?
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz.
Poor Sainz.
Oh, here we go. Okay, well.
Objectively, he hasn't had very good races recently, and you would have felt, anyone would have felt bad for him.
Are you ashamed of your man?
No, I'm not. It wasn't even his fault. It was an engine failure. He was robbed.
Your man is a failure.
No, the engine was.
Okay.
My man was just upset. He's trying his best.
Sorry, just to pause. Imagine if you were Carlos Sainz living your life and there's a random
With
woman
his
in the
hot
UK.
girlfriend.
There's a random woman in the UK that's sitting here saying, my man is not a
Listen,
failure.
He might not have many fans at the moment. Let me be his one.
He's got lots of fans.
Yeah, but I mean, he might be losing a lot.
Oh no! I can't tell if you're biggest. Are you a fan or a hater?
I know.
So I have to bring him down so he can love me.
What? That's your actual head.
What
Have you
a
been drinking?
toxic
Is the
relationship
way
he's
to
in.
go.
Have you been drinking Piastri? You seem a bit buzzed.
It's selling.
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Obviously, he had a bit of a problem in qualifying because he was out in P19 from qualifying, and then the formation lap comes and goes. We're all raring, excitable. giddy, may I add. And suddenly he's stuck on the grid in first gear, couldn't get it going, so they have an aborted start, which means they're going to come right back round to the field, do the start procedure all over again, and it almost looked like he'd done a na 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 na, because as soon as they then did the aborted start and they came around the corner, he drives off. He peeled off into the pit lane. I was a bit confused why, but he peeled off into the pit lane. I think he was going to do a pit lane start, and then his brakes were on fire. He was on fire.
Yeah, literally.
But not in the way you want it to
No.
be. Okay, we're on the formation lap. I predicted that Carlos Sainz would start in 19th and get into the points, and he's stuck on the fucking pit lane and sorry, a yellow flag man confused me. He's stuck in first gear. Everyone's just staring at him. But he looks really embarrassed. Can someone help him? Thank you. The marshals are now pushing him forward. That was embarrassing. There's about 20 people just staring at him.
Oh, look, the cars are coming.
Uh-oh. They're pushing the car. I'm not exaggerating. There is like 100 people on the side of this track.
Oh, he's going.
Oh, he's managed to get it started. Little dramatic baby.
They called an aborted start, and now everyone has to wait for 10 minutes. People are allowed to work on the cars for 10 minutes, and then they'll redo it all. Oh, he's gone. Why has he gone to the pit lane? Is he retiring?
Is he starting from the pit lane? I'm so confused. What is he doing?
I guess.
Oh,
no.
Fuck, the fucking car's
he's
on
on
fire.
fire.
Sainz, get out.
Oh,
Sainz, get out.
Sainz,
Sainz,
get
get
out
out.
your
Sainz,
car.
get out. Sainz, get out. Sainz, get out.
Protect your face!
No!
Oh, he's going to have to retire.
Poor Sainz.
On the bright side, now Alex Albon has an extra strategist on his team.
That's true.
Yeah, but he's not
Very
been doing that
valuable.
great either.
I know. Oh, poor boy.
So then the mechanics rushed out into the pit lane, put out the flames, and then eventually he was told, just get out. Get
Yeah.
out. Stop it. Get
Which
out.
made for quite the embarrassing moment, because before the race had even began, Izzy's wildcard prediction for the race was null and void because she thought that Sainz would end up in the points.
Well, okay, fine, maybe Sainz didn't do that. But what happened with Albon?
He also
wasn't
retired.
Yeah, I know, I was completely wrong.
And he was actually doing quite well, Albon. Like, he was going to be in the points for, like, the first 5 laps.
But it was not to be.
Like the first 5 laps out of 70.
Yeah. Well, it's Sainz and Albon for both Williams drivers.
So double DNF.
Double
Yes.
DNF in the bin.
Nicht.
And then it was a lap 1 racing incident between Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli.
Yes.
As we know, coming into this race, Max Verstappen had to keep it clean for 71 laps, or 70, as per Carlos Sainz's car trouble. So he needed to keep it clean for the whole race, because if he didn't and got any more penalty points, he'd have an automatic race ban that would then mean he would be sitting out for the Silverstone Grand Prix.
And that was my prediction, was that he was going to get a point and get a race ban.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a spin!
That's Max.
It's Max, and
That's
it's
Max.
Antonelli got involved too. Lewis and George are racing. This is so dramatic. Oh, I feel sorry for Max. What the hell happened there? Unfortunately, Kimi Antonelli sort of came in like a Red Bull in the China shop and said, I braked hard, I locked the rears and just couldn't stop the car. The car was just taking speed and the crash was inevitable. As soon as it happened, Max said, he called him a fucking idiot. I think it's fair. I felt sorry for Max, though, because he'd obviously been affected by the yellow flag that was shown in qualifying after Gasly had a big spin. Whilst Gasly was ballerinaing back in the background, there was still a yellow flag being shown. So as Verstappen was doing his lap, he then bailed out of it and then could only do P7. Had that not been the case, I think he was still struggling for grip and balance and stuff, but he always has that, and then he still is able to create greatness.
Yeah.
And as it's the Red Bull Ring, he's incredibly successful at this track. Because he has been a pole sitter here in 2021, 22, 23 and 24.
Damn.
So he knows how to put a good quali lap together in the Red Bull Ring,
Yeah.
but it was not to be. And if I'm honest with you, I missed Max Verstappen on track today.
Yes.
I think he adds a touch of excitement, and he doesn't allow the two McLarens to just sail off into the distance.
Yeah, it would have been interesting for sure to watch how he climbed up the field from 7th to, try and get himself on the podium and even try and win. So it was sad that we didn't get to see that, because
Yeah.
a charging Max is always very interesting and fun to watch.
God,
Also,
yeah.
I felt like an idiot. Because my prediction was that he was going to win.
Yeah, mine was he's going to come second.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
He
didn't
doesn't
have
have to
him on the
not win.
podium, so I was still happy after that.
Yeah.
With Alex Albon, Max Verstappen, Kimi Antonelli and Carlos Sainz all out of the race, that meant that there was an opportunity.
Oh.
There was one man in a blue car with a big bull on the side, and he was going to show the world, it's all about my teammate. Dutch, please. It's all about me. It's all about me. Well, Yuki Tsunoda finished 6th, and he was... pretty impressive. He finished 2 laps down. It says 2 laps down on this.
Yeah, because
results
he
sheet.
got a 10-second time penalty.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Sometimes when you're having a bit of a shit day, don't prove the haters wrong. Say, fuck it. Because I fuck. I'm gonna crash into people.
Chaos mode
Yeah, exactly. I
activated.
don't care.
Well, one of the commentators was saying, Red Bull is going to be driving one-handed here. There's a disadvantage because Max Verstappen is
Bitch,
out
they
of lap
drive
one.
one-handed every single race.
Literally. Tsunoda has not scored any
They
points.
were driving
for Red
with
Bull in,
no
like,
hands
many
today.
races.
They were hoping that fucking car would self-drive, and it didn't.
Yep.
They were asking Max, can he remote into the car? Start turning it.
Or just get Tsunoda out and replace him.
Surely by this point, it's like a done and dusted fact that the car is only built for Max.
Yeah.
Because Yuki be out here making it look hunky and clunky.
Yeah.
No, not hunky. Well, that's
Clunky.
rude. Clunky.
Yeah.
And
flunky.
flunky's not a
Junkie.
word. I can't call him a heroin addict. Straight. I'm poking fun, but I mean, Jesus.
It's a hunk of junk. That's what you were trying to say.
Yeah, that is, yeah. He made it look very difficult to drive, and there was no points to be had. So that was their bleeding points, and this was always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
However, there's drama in the mix.
Ooh.
And I know what the drama is. It's the fact that my boy Liam Lawson outqualified Max Verstappen and got himself more points. Go on.
Jamaican question mark? Right. He did finish. He finished 6th. So
Yeah,
he's
he
taken
did.
home 8 points.
Yeah, he did.
And he's a good boy.
Yeah,
He's
he's a good boy.
He's done well there. Yeah, I
You've
mean,
replaced Albon so fast.
well, he's out of the race. He's a bad boy.
Yeah.
Bad boy. He's out.
Bad boys of F1
Exactly.
coming soon.
Put him in the naughty corner of the garage, and Liam Lawson, I'm petting him on the head, giving him a little liver chew. Is that what you give dogs? I've no idea.
Liver chew?
Yeah, that's what you give him, a
Ew.
little chew.
Not Roscoe, he's a vegan doggo.
I'm not. Yeah, okay, fine. When you throw any knowledge you have about Formula One, I know a dog that's a vegan. Thank you for that. I feel like I'm in a fever dream. I don't know what that was. Anyway, right. So I have a heading on here that was going to be a really good segue into the talking point, but no. Can Mercedes repeat their victory in Canada, in Austria?
No.
No. No, they can't. So I was gonna say Mercedes are coming into Austria off the back of their strongest race weekend this season. Can the team be able to repeat their run of dominance as they saw in Canada?
It was one race. You can't call it a run of dominance. That's
Well,
wild.
I only wrote one sentence,
Piastri
so I
stood
had
in a
to...
corner tapping his foot with his arms folded like Mitch.
I'll tell you what.
Arthur meme with a closed fist.
I'll tell you what. If Oscar and Lando crashed, and then Leclerc and Lewis also crashed, then yes, Russell would have had a great chance.
That was a whole lot of ifs.
That was
But that's how he gets his wins.
Yeah, guess what? If all 19 drivers crashed and Franco Colapinto didn't, he would win.
Yeah. And then, but if it was Russell in that position, he'd be in front of the camera saying, "Yeah, we had really good pace on the track today. It was always meant to be."
It was an Adidas tracksuit.
Those pictures made me howl because he looked so stupid.
But apparently, Lewis kind of burst out laughing when Toto told him, by the way, next year, you know how you're leaving, we're going to have Adidas as a title sponsor, because Lewis was like, that's literally the sort of sponsor I've been wanting for years. And now it's going. But he also found it funny because he was like, oh, well, I guess George and Kimi could enjoy, that look. And then everyone was saying in the comments how is George going to be the one wearing a big Adidas Bomber jacket and hoodies and all this sort of stuff. Tommy Hilfiger is so much more his speed. a little turtleneck moment.
I don't remember what year it was, but it was the year that the Kingsman second movie came out. And
Oh, God,
he
yeah.
was still with Williams, and they did a whole activation for the Kingsman. I think it was at the British Grand Prix. And George basically... Have you seen the Kingsman?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was all that sort of suits, Savile Row vibes.
Like
and,
how Colin Firth used to wear those, the umbrella and the really
Yeah.
fancy suits that was all woven for him.
And
Yep.
George Russell was wearing a really brilliantly fitted suit, walking down the pit lane like surrounded by 4 bodyguards, and it just worked for him because that is just the vibe that George gives off.
Well,
this Adidas outfit with him like seriously looking down the camera, like I'm surprised he wasn't pulling gang signs and like leaning
His
up
gang
against
sign would be a
a
thumbs
brick
up.
wall.
Well, I've said before.
Look,
George
this was his
Russell-
look. Wait, let me show you. Sorry, no one else in
Are you showing the Kingsman or the Adidas?
the Kingsman, just so she can see the full effect. He had people with umbrellas looking like mafia.
Yeah, that does work.
That suits him. Adidas does not.
I've said before, George Russell does have a model look. So this kind of look suits him.
Yeah.
And like, fancy brands, that suits him. So I get why Adidas wouldn't.
It just looked ridiculous.
Strangely enough, his merchandise wearing for his sponsorship for the title sponsor of Mercedes was not my talking point. In
Sorry.
fact, it was the contract negotiation drama was in
Yes.
fact my talking point. Because Russell is close to entering his final 6 months with his existing Mercedes deal with the 4-time race winner still without a contract for next season.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Meanwhile, Christian Horner, team principal of Red Bull, has claimed that Max Verstappen gets quite annoyed with rumours linking him to a move with Mercedes for F1 2026 season. Even though Max is officially under contract until the end of 2028, Verstappen has been persistently linked with a move away from the Red Bull team over the last 12 months as the team's performance has declined and the internal struggles have risen like a big, beautiful loaf of bread. But for Mercedes, they currently have a clean slate for 2026 because neither Russell nor Antonelli currently are contracted for next season. So they've kept themselves very open, which means murky. So Horner has previously confirmed that last year that Verstappen's deal contains a performance element and clause that could see Max be able to leave before 2028, and it's been rumoured that Max will be free to activate this exit clause in his contract if he's lower than 3rd in the driver's standings at a certain point of the season, which is believed to be around the time of the next month's summer break. However, he is currently P3, so he is not lower than that.
But just about.
But wouldn't that be funny? So if George is 4th in the standings and he does an amazing performance, he pushes Max to go down to 4th. Max could then trigger his performance clause and take George's seat.
Oh.
That's wild.
That would be crazy.
So
Yeah.
currently Max is on 155 points and George is on 146. So there's only
Yeah.
9 points between them.
Imagine George thinks that he's driving the best fucking races for his career, only for his amazing performance to be able to allow the man that he's racing against to take his own seat from Mercedes.
Yeah, because there's no way Toto will allow both Russell and Verstappen to be on the same team.
Yeah, I don't think that would go down well.
No.
It would be such an interesting pairing, but not
The
for
Drive
any
to
good
Survive
reasons.
episodes.
Oh my!
if
There would be
they
no other
hit.
features of
Yeah.
that episode apart from those two. It'd be a whole season.
The chance of winning constructors would be so low for them because what's going to happen is they're going to keep crashing into
Yeah.
each other.
Yes, it
every
would be.
single
It would be
race.
called George and Max take on F1, and it would just be their day the whole season.
Well, there's only 3 races to go until the summer break. So with only 9 points between them, it could all change
It
very,
could.
Yeah.
very quickly. So are you both suggesting then that Toto would hire Max and get rid of George
Yeah.
and keep Antonelli?
Yeah, I think so. The reason I'm saying, I mean, this is all conjecture. We're just
Yeah.
bitchy girlies at the water fountain currently talking about this, but I don't give a fuck. So the reason I'm saying that is because when Max was a junior and he was looking for an F1 drive when he was a teenager, Mercedes were very well aware of how good Verstappen was, and they wanted to sign him, but they didn't have any free seats, so they couldn't sign him anywhere. They wanted to give him like a reserve driver or development driver thing, but Max was ready for F1, so they knew they couldn't hold him back with something that wouldn't suffice
Yeah.
what he needed. So they lost out the chance, and he went to Red Bull. Well, and now the story has written itself. He's now a 4-time world champion, and it was spoken about and speculated that Mercedes did not want to be caught with their trousers down again. So when it came to Kimi Antonelli, even though he was very young when he came into the Mercedes seat, and people were questioning whether he was ready for it, Mercedes recognised, we're not going to do the same mistake we did with Verstappen. This kid's the real deal. We're going to go for it. We're
Yeah.
not going to be hesitant. If we have the seat, let's go for it. So I feel that if they have the chance, they would swap out from George, who's been a great team leader, swap someone out that hasn't won a championship for someone who's won 4, keep the future star that is Kimi Antonelli, who could learn from Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
But saying that, George has got Mercedes the majority of their points and, even got them a race win this year. Because George is on 146 points, whereas Antonelli is only on 63.
I think realistically, Mercedes, as well as probably the rest of the teams, they're going to want to have a number one and number two driver. And Russell was the number two with Lewis, wasn't he?
Yeah,
because Lewis was the championship winner. And now he's gotten a taste of being number one. So he'd end up being very, very stubborn and wouldn't work, cooperatively with Max if they were on the same team. So they're going to need to have a bit of balance in the team for them to still be able to give orders, for them to still be able to have control, which is why it would make sense to keep Antonelli and get Max to replace George, and for George to end up going to another team.
Unless they go for a no number one, no number two driver style team, like McLaren, and they just do it based on what's going on track, that's when we make our decisions.
If they're going to do that strategy, it's not the worst idea, but they'd have to make the garages bigger, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
All that fucking dick swinging. Sorry. I don't see that as a viable option for George Russell, and I don't see that as a viable option for Max Verstappen. I think Max Verstappen operates at his best when he's allowed to be able to take the control of what he wants and people to be able to listen and go for it. And I think they're both very tenacious and very competitive drivers, but I just don't see that as a winning duo. If you said someone like George Russell and Carlos Sainz, I'd say, yeah, that could work. That's, he's a very affable character and he works
both
well.
Respectable.
Exactly. But when you've got a world champion of Max's level, he deserves the respect of being given number one. But so does George, because he works very hard. He's not at championship level yet. He hasn't had the chance. But I think they're too similar.
So in the same vein then, do you think that Ferrari consider Lewis a number one driver? Because in this race, he obviously asked to stay out after his first pit stop and go long, and they basically just ignored him and said, nope, come in, pit, which he probably thought that he would have had an opportunity to go long, build up a gap, and maybe even just do a one-stop race and stay ahead of Leclerc, but they made him come into the pits.
I think if Lewis had the same recent legacy as Verstappen, where, prior to this year he was a championship winner multiple years in a row, then maybe, because he would have still had, that same energy, same pace, and they might have maybe not prioritized him over Leclerc, but at least, given him the same amount of respect, especially if in the beginning of the races for this season, if he was doing very well or he was matching the level of Leclerc. But considering Lewis, hasn't been as great the past couple of years, and he also just hasn't gotten used to the Ferrari car, I think it makes sense to keep Leclerc as the number one driver.
But he's the only 7-time champion on the grid.
I think with Ferrari, I think they have a plausible deniability to giving Lewis preferential treatment outright as the number one driver currently, because he's still getting up to speed with the car and the team. So right now, it's not about giving either of them preferential treatment. It's about who has the performance in that car and who's set up for success. And I think currently that is Charles Leclerc. He has the edge most of the time in qualifying and the race. So I don't think that Ferrari see Lewis as the number two driver. I think they see him as the driver that's giving number two performance currently compared to Charles Leclerc.
Very fair.
So when it comes to making those kind of decisions, I think the Ferrari have been quite fair in terms of how they give track position and stuff like that. Yes, they've definitely made some real fumbles, like Miami comes screaming into my mind. However, once they go to 2026 car, they'll kind of be on a bit more of an even footing, because Lewis will have some chance to put some input into the development, as will Charles. So they'll kind of have a hybrid car that is modelled around something Ferrari has made, but input from both of those drivers, whereas this car is actually made from the input of both Charles and also Carlos Sainz. So I think until that car is sufficiently competitive, I think that's when the headache may come.
Yeah.
I think for Ferrari currently, they're all happy families. You can always be happy families when you're not winning.
Yeah, very true.
Just to go back to Max, do you think another option where if he activates his brake clause, if he ends up in P4, do you think another option is that he would end up just retiring next year?
No.
I think the thing that struck for me with Max Verstappen is that when he was trying to go for his first world championship in 2021, he hugely downplayed how much winning the championship meant. He was like, I'd love to win it, but, it is what it is. But then when he won, you could see the visceral emotion.
Yeah.
And I think he talks about, I don't really care about, I'll win and then I'm done. But I think that racing is in his actual DNA.
Yeah.
And I think that he is a sensational driver. So I think he says it a lot, but I think that realistically he is not done yet. I don't think he's hanging his
Loki,
racing.
I think there's still some family pressure as well, because Dross is always still in the garage.
Yeah, he's there all the time. I don't think he's gassed out at 4 championships. I think he could personally get 6. I think he could definitely get 2 more.
But you don't think that he could beat Lewis?
I don't know, because if it depends on where he moves team-wise. I don't know that it depends on the car that if he stays with Red Bull, it's loads of ifs. If he stays with Red Bull, it depends on how their car performs. If he moves to Mercedes, it depends on how their car performs.
What about McLaren?
He'd never go to McLaren. I don't think McLaren would suit him.
Too much of a family team vibe.
And who would they get rid of?
Yeah, that's true.
Max and Lando, they're very good friends, but that wouldn't end very well. And I think for Piastri and Max, I think they would end up in a few tussles and a few hairy moments themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be as clear as going to Mercedes. I think it would be, if Toto had the choice, although he's downplaying it. I mean, he even said, I think when you look at the situation, we have Kimi and George, we have the perfect lineup that we very much enjoy, that we believe is the future. But at the same time, there is a 4-time world champion that needs to decide what he's going to do in the future. And that is just, as a team principle, you need to see where it is going. But I think I give it a very little probability that this is going to happen. So he's downplaying it. He's saying he's being transparent with George about it and whatever. But currently, George has come off a win in Canada. Admittedly, not the best performance today. Mm-hmm. The warmer conditions of Austria just did not seem to be very good for that Merc. Yeah, didn't like that. We saw that last year. I thought maybe with some of the performances we've seen this year that maybe the car seemed a bit more rounded out in that situation. Very strange characteristic of a car to only really want to be performing in cooler conditions. But as they're a UK team, I'm guessing Silverstone is probably where they do a lot of their track testing.
Quite reminiscent of McLaren a few years ago, though, because McLaren used to be like that, where it was like only suited in colder conditions.
Also a UK-based team. Yeah. So I guess a lot of them are, though, so that doesn't, I don't know. Anyway, I thought maybe they may have engineered that out of their car. I hope they do that for 2026, otherwise that could hinder their chances.
Especially with global warming. It's only going to get hotter at all of these races.
Yes, I sit here in shorts sweating. I agree. But yeah, I mean, Toto's downplaying it. And obviously, if he got Max Verstappen, I think he would quite literally jump in the air and say yippee, because he would be so happy. So I think that even though he's saying, listen, I don't know, I don't know. I think currently George has got this great win in Canada. Toto essentially said he's making it very easy for us to decide on what his future will be and where it will be, and it will be with us. At the same time, George has done this great win, and Max is the reason that his contract isn't being signed out. So it's
this is
quite
all
interesting.
in like stark contrast to last year, where George got one race win, and as soon as he did, it was just like, come to the office, sign your contract.
That's what I'm saying.
Whereas now it's like, you got a race win? Okay, cool. We're still thinking.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine the guy that you have beef with as well.
I know.
Is the reason you're not getting your contract signed. I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
I would get so angry. I'd do petty things.
And also
I'd push cups off the side for no reason, like a cat.
Like a cat.
Also getting like a rookie teammate who just outperformed all of the other rookies since the start of the season. Like, I don't think he expected... Not today, but for most of the season.
You are actually so toxic. Well, we've got breaking news.
Oh?
We had to just turn the fan off and I want to die. Sorry. Okay. Oh, do you know what's sad? I literally wrote a whole thing about Max having to potentially get a race ban. He was out in lap 1. What a waste of my day.
After this race, does it restart and he doesn't have a risk of getting a race ban anymore?
What an insightful question. After Austria, 2 penalty points will drop off of his super licence that he got 12 months ago at the 2024 Austrian Grand Prix, where he had a collision with Lando Norris. If he does have a clean race, he'll carry on the season with more breathing room on his licence, but he will have just 9 points until late October this year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Big news!
Yeah?
Freddie the Frog Vasseur missed this race.
Oh, no! How dare he?
It was actually for family reasons.
Oh, sorry.
Angry at him being a potentially good father or something. In a statement, Ferrari said Fred will not be at the track today because he's had to return home for personal reasons. We hope you move in good speed. I don't know what the...
Is this big news?
How dare you?
Well, you said big news.
Breaking news, my best friend's being mean to me. How about that?
It's the heat.
It is the heat. Deputy team principal Jerome D'Ambrosio will stand in for him. Now, Jerome has raced in 20 Grand Prix with Virgin and Team Lotus in 2011 and 2012, and then joined Ferrari in 2024 as deputy team principal. He arrived at Ferrari after a 2-year stint in Mercedes upper management as driver development director. But let's talk about it. How are Ferrari doing in themselves?
I think they're struggling.
I think they're a bit...
I still think Adami needs to go.
Well, yeah. We had Lewis pit today, and he didn't want to pit. But he was told to pit.
I mean, obviously we don't have like access to the full radio messages from that conversation yet. But Lewis was saying oh, I don't want to pit. And they kind of just kept saying come in, box. And he was just like, oh, but I want to go long. And I've told you the tyres are fine. And it was like, come in, box. And it was just like, oh my God, like, at least answer him, like, with a reason as to why he has to pit now. Don't just say, no, you're doing this.
They, ironically, boxed him into just getting P4.
Yes.
Whereas if they hadn't boxed him when he didn't want to be boxed, he might not have been as boxed into getting P4, and he might have been put into a box that was closer to Leclerc, and he might have been able to have to the left, move everything you got in a box to the P3.
Brilliant. I don't think they're struggling, Ferrari, because I mean Leclerc got P3 and then Lewis got P4.
But okay, fine. Let's
They're not doing
fantabulise
amazing.
it. Well, no, because if you fantabulise it, okay, fine. They got P3, P4.
Yeah.
But that is heavily on the fact that George Russell had a Mercedes that doesn't do well in the heat. Whereas in Canada, he was on the fucking points and he was on it. So they couldn't race Mercedes last race. Then they have Max Verstappen was out of the race. So that's yet another position they haven't got to worry about, because Max would have been chewing through those Ferraris like nothing on earth. Then you have both the Williams drivers. And at other circuits, the Williams have been right there in that sort of club that's not the McLaren Max club, but the next group of cars that is above the midfield but is below the top runners. That sort of weird mix. Williams have been in that mix quite a lot. And then Kimi Antonelli was out of the race. Another person that's sort of in the mix in that sort of mid-top club. So their race looked better because essentially all of their direct competitors were out of the race.
Yeah, they're not doing amazing, and I think they definitely have issues with the communication between their team.
Oh, yeah.
And what they did to Lewis today wasn't fair, because even, when the race ended, there was a shot of Lewis looking at the
timing
sheet, and he was just disappointed.
Yeah.
So I think they definitely need to fix that. But in terms of like on a technicality and where they're landing, they're still doing okay. I mean, are they still P2 in constructors?
They're P2, but okay. Imagine this. They are on 210 points. If McLaren had 3 more points, they would be on double the points that Ferrari have, because they currently have 417 points.
Yeah.
So if you added 3, it would be 420. I digress. But they have 210, so they have basically half the points of their next competitors. So they're not going anywhere. And they have Mercedes 1 point behind them.
Yeah, and they've yet to win a race this season.
Yeah, apart from the sprint in China, which has changed everything. I mean, they've got upgrades. Quite a few teams have, actually, which 75% of the Ferrari changes this week come to the floor, with alterations to the fences, body and edge. And the Italian team are saying that this should be able to help produce an enhanced velocity released downstream. But it's basically all geared towards that main weakness, which is they can't have that car too close to the ground. Otherwise, what happens, Reem?
They get a DNF. No, they get disqualified. DSQ?
Yes.
We just 3 different people in one body.
I was correcting myself. DSQ. DNF is if they retire in the race.
Yeah.
See?
What's a DNS?
DNS, do not start.
Ah.
DNF, do not finish. And DSQ is disqualified.
Oh my God, she loves
Fun fact for people that don't know what Reem looks like or what she looks like when she records. She's very hands-based, so lots of pointing at me when you were saying that. I felt like I was on trial.
Well, something I found quite funny is we obviously did a post on our socials from our conversation in an episode where we were talking about how Adami needs to be fired.
Yeah.
And someone commented on it saying, "Let the donkey become a stallion again, please." And
amazing comment.
Brilliant. But they followed it up after we replied to them and said, "Please add this Italian saying, e la vera la testa della nacio si spreca tempo e sapone." Now, excuse the fact that I don't know Italian and probably butchered that.
I would have never have guessed. That sounded like a mother tongue to me.
But what that means is, if you wash the head of a donkey, you waste time and soap.
Can we invite them onto this podcast?
So I can understand what the fuck that means. I mean, because I don't know what to reply with. Exactly. What else can we say?
Yes!
Dutch, please. Yeah, I mean, I think Charles and Lewis seemed happy with their performance. I don't want to gaslight them, but I felt like they were like, the upgrades are working. 3 and 4 is pretty good. But they also finished quite some way behind McLaren today. And Lewis even said in the post-race interview, he's like, well, we didn't finish like a minute off McLaren. I'm like, half a minute. Not great.
But Russell finished half a minute away from them. So it's all swings and roundabouts.
That's true. Oh, do you think he was being shady? And it was at least not George. Anyway.
Maybe.
I feel like maybe it's given them a false sense of security.
Yeah.
But I also think they recognise it's a fight they can't keep pushing. They need to push their development on 2026, as do all the teams. But I wonder if quite a few teams, I mean, Aston Martin didn't bring any upgrades. So Mike Crack said, no, I don't like that. Mike Crack said that they weren't bringing any upgrades, they're getting them ready, but also they're a British-based team and every team wants to bring upgrades for Silverstone because they want to have their best package available for when they're going to be driving around with UK fans. So I'm wondering, are Ferrari going to do the same? Because technically it's not really a home race for them, but now it is.
But it's for Lewis,
Exactly. So I'm very intrigued to see who will come out on top for Silverstone, but currently Ferrari, I'm giving a
Yeah.
But that's a running theme, though. Like, I feel like every episode we're saying, you know, maybe they're saving their upgrades, maybe they're saving their improvements, maybe they're gonna kick it up a notch in this race, and then each one comes and they're still a bit mid.
Maybe they are where they are because they're Ferrari, and that's that.
But they're P2
by 1 point.
Yes.
and
But
Because a Mercedes retired.
and I know like
it's from hard work.
and I know Leclerc and Lewis are coming on to the press and saying, you know, like we think we're doing well and blah blah blah, and they seem like they're accepting it. But if you look at their faces, they look drained and they look defeated. Like Leclerc's
Also,
interview,
they're
he
media
just looked
trained.
sad.
They have to say that. They've
Yeah.
got a Ferrari communications person to
Yeah.
decide them with an iPhone recording it all, and
Yep.
anything they say will be held against them in their post-race meeting.
Remember when Lewis had a fight with his engineer, and then the next shot was him in front of the cameras going like, "Yeah, everything's fine."
Yeah.
No, it was not.
It's the gif of the thing and the fires all around. Everything's okay.
Yes, admittedly, it does sort of look like when you're out to dinner with your partner and you're arguing and you run into someone you work with and you start cuddling. Oh no, we're having a great evening. no.
You're speaking from experience.
Anyway, let's move on. So, woo, woo, woo.
That's gay.
Is it? I thought it was like a siren, like an ambulance or a police car or something.
Thank you. How many teams will there be on the grid next year?
11.
Grid next year. How did you do that?
Cadillac.
Did you read my screen?
No, you've talked
You
about
did a
it before.
sneaky peeky.
I know.
You did a sneaky peeky.
Well, you know my vision's not that great, especially with me wearing my glasses right now.
Oh, podcast exclusive. Read
But
my glasses.
you've mentioned it on the podcast before. Cadillac are gonna join next year.
What's that? Know it all alert. Okay, Cadillac contract rumours.
Go on, then.
Discuss. No, I'm joking. Sorry.
It's gonna be Russell.
No.
Oh,
Bottas.
Valtteri Bottas.
okay.
Do you know what we're saying?
Valtteri Bottas.
Do you know who that is?
As in he was ex-driver for, was it Aston Martin?
No.
Kick Sauber.
Oh, yes!
Yeah.
Sorry, I was about to say, yes, completely right. Bang
So
on.
it was another green.
High five. Okay, Valtteri Bottas has emerged as a leading candidate to join the Cadillac team when it enters the championship next season. Now, for the viewers for a second, I'm just going to show the girls a video. So just shh.
I love that.
That is such a great way to like soft launch the fact that you're in contention for a seat.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for people that haven't seen the video, go onto Valtteri Bottas's Instagram page and you'll see him donning a massive cowboy hat and a rather sexual moustache. And the guy behind the camera is pointing at a Cadillac car and is saying, "Oh, look, Valtteri, that's a Cadillac." They open the door, they walk round. He said, "Look, that's a nice seat." And he said, "There's 2 seats." And Valtteri says, "But they're both free." And he said, "Why don't you sit in it?" And he said, not yet. So Valtteri Bottas seeming like a shoo-in for the Cadillac seat next year. It's all very exciting.
It's also going to be all very awkward if he doesn't actually end up sitting in that seat.
True. However, a man called Sergio Perez. Reem, who's Sergio Perez?
Sergio Perez used to race for Red Bull last year.
So, without sounding too rude, Sergio Perez has been popping up, chatting and stuff recently, and I wasn't really sure why, because he's not on the grid
Popping
anymore.
up and popping off.
Sergio Perez was obviously Max's former teammate, and he's convinced that deep down, Red Bull regret parting ways with him at the end of last season, and he's claimed that he's been told by a very reliable source that Red Bull does in fact feel that way regarding his departure from the team.
Well, fair, they have Sonoda.
Oh.
I'm
Shady.
also going to call Cap.
Oh. Well, the hell's wrong with you two? The heat's coming out in bitchy ways, ladies.
I don't think they regret not having him.
I think they regret Daniel Ricciardo leaving.
Yeah.
Probably more.
They regret Ricciardo leaving. Christian Horner has actually openly said that his dream team is Max and Vettel as drivers and Ricciardo as a reserve driver. Perez did not get a mention, so
That's
why
true.
would they regret letting him go?
That is true. Well, he obviously joined Red Bull in 2021 and lasted 4 seasons in the seat. And during 2024, he signed a deal with Red Bull to carry on racing with them until the end of 2026, after his strongest season with them in 2023, where he finished second in the standings behind Max. Probably their most
damn.
dominant season they've had in a very long time.
They had no competitors.
Yeah. But in 2024, it all went downhill because Perez scored just 9 points in the last 8 Grand Prix weekends of 2024. So they basically gave him an offer to carry on racing. And at the end of the year, he got axed.
Oh.
So it was like his future was secured until it wasn't. So
That must be, I mean, how do they not look at that and think this is a problem with us? Because if he was able to deliver a very good season the year before and suddenly he's not scoring any points, it must be an issue with their car.
yeah, it's a good point. But I think when you have that level of dominance and then you have when you're winning, the sponsorships, monies, you know, you're divvying out all the bonuses and stuff. And it's like, oh, well, that guy's underperforming. It's obviously not us. Look how dominant we are. Get out.
Yeah.
So, but Perez, similar to Valtteri Bottas, they both find themselves linked with the incoming Cadillac entry for 2026.
I feel very happy for Bottas considering he's like a reserve driver for 3 different teams this
Yeah,
season. And he's in almost every single race. There's a shot of him just like looking out at the cars. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to be great that he might actually be in the race next year.
And he's a good driver.
He's a great driver. He's a world-class driver. He's done brilliantly. But also, the reason that he'd be a good shoe-in is that if the intention for them to have is to have 2 experienced driver because they're new to the grid, they need feedback, they need experienced drivers, then Bottas and Perez wouldn't be in competition with each other, they would be teammates. However, if they decide to go with an experienced figure and then a young talent, the choice would be between Bottas and Perez. So, my question to you is, if you had to choose between Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas, which one would you choose to go into your team as the experienced driver?
You're asking
Bottas.
me, and I haven't seen I haven't seen really any seasons with
Okay,
both of
would you
them.
like me to give you a fact file?
Sure.
Okay, Sergio Perez, he's driven for a top team in F1, so he's no stranger to the pressure and performance that comes with that. He has 285 Grand Prix weekends under his belt. He knows how to win, because he's won with Red Bull. His best finish was P2 in the Drivers' Championship with Red Bull. He has great tyre management. He was known as the Minister of Defence for his brilliant defending skills. And his time with Force India / Racing Point, they had 2 names, long story, shows that he could consistently get the most out of a car that was punching above its weight. And then I'll give you a fact file on Valtteri Bottas. Has a mullet. Has a cool moustache. Bottas has driven for Mercedes during their period of dominance. He has 247 Grand Prix under his belt, including race wins. He has the speed. And he was the lead driver when he was driving for Kick Sauber, if you remember. And he is a reserve driver for Mercedes and other teams, which means he's attending all races and engineering briefings and is helping them with their car development for 2026. So there you go. You're all caught up. I've missed out many a different fact because it's only a small fact file. Which one are you choosing?
Valtteri Bottas.
Same. I'm doing Valtteri Bottas.
I think I'll go with the same, because if he's a reserve driver for 3 different teams in this season, I feel like he still has the drive.
Yeah, and he's still going to be getting sim experience in all of the cars,
That's true.
whereas Perez is sitting around somewhere twiddling his thumbs, hoping something comes good.
That's true.
And also there might be a pettiness that wouldn't work on track with the way that he's left Red Bull and
You think he might come in a bit spiteful?
Yes.
Right.
And I don't think that would work for a new team.
Well, I bet you're wondering, if they do go for one experienced driver, who will be their less experienced driver? There are a few names. Zhou Guanyu. Zhou Guanyu obviously raced with Kick Sauber, but he is now Ferrari's reserve driver. So he's an option.
And he was teammates with Bottas.
So it would be a nice pairing.
Yeah.
Some familiar faces on the track. Felipe Drogovic. He's the Brazilian 2022 F2 champion. And he's part of the Aston Martin driver programme and has been for the last 2.5 years. And he also brings financial backing with him. So maybe a good person to have and very hungry for a seat somewhere in Formula One.
And has again been getting track experience by doing practice session.
Yes.
drives.
So we know he has a super licence, so he's ready to go.
Yeah.
And finally, Mick Schumacher. Do you recognise the last name?
Yes. Relates to Michael Schumacher.
He's Michael Schumacher's son.
Okay.
So he's driven for Haas, but he lost his seat in F1 at the end of 2022. He spent 2 years as a Mercedes reserve driver, and this season he's focusing on his World Endurance Championship campaign with Alpine. So he's still active in motorsport, currently not racing with Formula One, but he has had both experience with a team like Haas, driving, and then has also been a reserve driver for Mercedes, similar to what Valtteri Bottas is doing. So they're the three.
Is Cadillac looking like it will be a strong team next year?
Well,
I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it?
what I will say is they currently have 50 job listings up on LinkedIn.
Should we apply?
Majority of them are for lead and senior engineers. So you'd think that they would be like heavy at work on their car so far, but they're still hiring a lot of their car design team. So hopefully they'll be strong. Hopefully they hire soon. But considering a lot of those listings were only made 2 days ago, being Friday the 27th of June, I'm not sure.
I don't feel like they're going to come in and be a top team right off the bat. You need time to be able to get accustomed to what your racing identity is. You need
Build
to start
a culture for your team.
And you also need to bring up talent as well, because you need to have a good performance, a good strong base of people. You need to establish good communication between all of your departments. You need to have drivers that can give you the right feedback and development. And on top of that, you need to be able to have the financial backing to be able to make sure that you're not scrabbling around for coins here and there. And that takes time. So I feel like they could be very much in the mix in a few years, but I think it's going to take quite a few years before they get into that sort of
as
mix.
well, like something that goes on in F1 quite a bit is like poaching, right? So a lot of teams will kind of look at workers and employees and designers and stuff from other teams and then convince them to move over to theirs, and they'll do that by basically saying, this is our long-term plan, this is our strategy, we project that by this point we will be here and we need your help to do that. Whereas Cadillac are an unknown right now, so they're not going to have as much luck with poaching
they have
people.
money, though.
They do have money, yeah.
Money talks, but so does performance.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Because the reason I was asking was if they get Bottas as the experienced driver in the first seat and they're looking at getting a rookie in the second seat, would there be a potential of like trying to poach one of the other rookies that are on track currently and potentially like maybe even one of the Racing Bull drivers?
Potentially, but I mean, it comes down to the silly season, which is obviously when point of the season where everyone starts doing musical chairs with all the seats in, and then you just hope that when the music stops, you've got a seat. We'll have to see how the cards fall, because lots of them already signed up. Some of them are still in negotiations. Some of them, like George, haven't got a seat, but it's very likely that he will get a seat, but just not sure where. Most likely Mercedes, but you don't know if it happens. Because I mean, that amazing signing that Williams got with Carlos Sainz was as a result of him not finding a seat anywhere else. So you never know. But currently, the main people for those seats are Mick Schumacher, Felipe Drugovich, Zhou Guanyu, Valtteri Bottas, and Sergio Perez.
But also, I don't think that a Racing Bull driver would go over to a team like Cadillac. I think a lot of the Red Bull drivers, Racing Bull drivers, anyone in their young driver development program are very loyal because they all have that hope and dream of being in the Red Bull seat.
Yeah.
And Hadjar's still going to have that. Lawson might still think that one day he'll be able to go there and prove himself and, you know, have another stab at it and prove all the naysayers wrong. But I think that they'll still be gunning for the main seat.
But the reason I say Racing Bull specifically is because I feel like going to that second Red Bull seat ends up being more of like more destroying their career.
Yes, but
than actually building it up.
But there's ego in F1, and I think they all want to be able to say, I was the one that did it right.
You're the one that's able to slay the dragon of that difficult car.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With Cadillac rumours and Mercedes contract rumours flying about, there is one thing we have not spoken about.
Go on.
Gabriel Bortoleto.
Yes, Queen icon.
Yes. So,
and no longer on 0 points.
Yes,
exactly.
Round of applause for Bortoleto.
Gabriel Bortoleto was able to do a sensational drive and was able to finish in P8 today. Gabby the Great.
Gabby the Great, I like it.
Now, let's not forget about Nico Hülkenberg. He started his race in P20.
Yeah.
He finished his race P9.
Go on.
I mean, yes, 4 people retired, so that was 4 places he was going to inherit, but still a fucking awesome drive.
Yeah.
So they've brought upgrades. They had a nice message that Jonathan Wheatley was saying over the radio to Gabriel, saying well done on his drive. And I've got to say, Jonathan Wheatley's doing a fantastic job over there.
He is.
He seems to be fostering a really nice team environment. He seemed really supportive over the radio. He's very precise. He's come from Red Bull Racing, which is a clinically competitive team that has a beautiful track record of winning championships. So he knows how to get a team organised and running like a well-oiled machine. And it's paying dividends, because I genuinely never thought I would see Kick Sauber getting as many points as they have. But fucking fair fucks, very impressive. So they are currently sitting P9 in the championship, which I feel it doesn't reflect as how great they have been in a couple of races. However, there has been seasons, it's been quite common that the bottom teams will have just 0 or 1. Whereas now, Alpine, P10, have 11 points, whilst Kick Sauber have 26.
Damn.
And they're only 2 points behind Aston Martin in P8.
I do think it is worth saying that Alpine's 11 points are all from Gasly, because that second seat has still not delivered
That's
any
shocking.
points.
Colapinto has been crashing around, working hard for the man, but not helping the team.
Nope.
So that makes sense. Colapinto, I'm not sure what's happening there, baby.
Yeah, and he had an incident on track as well today, which got him a 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where he impeded Piastri, who was trying to lap him, and Colapinto was trying to overtake and just got in the way of Piastri. Oh, what is he doing? Colapinto, what are you doing?
no.
Fucking God, Colapinto.
He's going to get a penalty.
And
Got in
sort
the
of
way. He
drove
pushed
him onto the
He
grass.
pushed him off. He was like a bee after honey. He was just transfixed by the
could have-
slipstream of that car ahead.
Yeah.
He could have very much ruined Piastri's race,
God,
who
yeah.
was in P2.
Who
and
had
he would have
also
been
just
pissed
come out of the
off.
pits, was on new tyres, and suddenly they had grass all over them.
But
Like,
he could have ended both their races easily. And
Yeah.
potentially the car ahead as well, if they both, collided into one another and then went soaring down the straight. I mean, that was just so silly. That spatial awareness just not clicking whatsoever.
And there was a point towards the end of the race, actually I think it was the final lap, where it was Lando leading, and then it was Bortoleto and Alonso that were in the middle, and there were lapped cars, and then behind them was Piastri, and that was quite intense because it was Bortoleto trying to overtake Alonso in that moment, yet both of them still managed to get Piastri to pass through and not lead to a crash.
Yeah.
And you'd think that would be a more like high intensity moment than Franco Colapinto running into Oscar Piastri.
yeah, because they were actually battling for points.
Yeah.
And it's never easy to overtake your manager.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, which is crazy to me, because Fernando Alonso now told me during the race that Fernando Alonso is actually Gabriel Bortoleto's manager.
Yeah.
And then as Gabriel Bortoleto parked into Parc Ferme, Fernando Alonso came over and gave him a big cuddle. It was lovely.
Yeah.
But
I think he would have cheered him on if he
scenes.
managed to get past.
Yeah.
100%. He's like, I want a higher cut of your pay. I've taught you too much. Fuck you. Although a bit of a horrifying moment for Jack Doohan when your manager takes your seat away from you.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, what am I still paying you then? What am I doing? What's happening here then?
But obviously next week is the end of his trial, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or, well, no, because Flavio Briatore then obviously came out and said there's no 5-race trial.
On the
That, I
conditions
never
that
put a
he-
number on it.
On the conditions that he doesn't crash, that he scores points, and that what was the third one?
He's fast.
And that he's fast, which he's done none of.
So far, it seems like he has failed his trial. It is just a question of whether or not they'll put Jack Doohan back in the car or one of the other reserves.
It's Bottas.
I mean,
It's Bottas.
I don't know. Does it really matter by this point? The car isn't fast. The
Yeah.
car isn't doing the best.
Yeah.
I sort of feel like even if you had Gasly and Ocon, the same lineup they had for 2024, I still feel like they'd be struggling.
Yeah.
It's at the base of it. It's the car. I don't think that all of it can be put on the rookie of Colapinto.
No.
Nor
It's
Jack Doohan.
easy scapegoat, though, isn't it?
Exactly, the same as you can't do that for Yuki Tsunoda,
Yeah.
who obviously ended up finishing 16th today. So it's not fair to do that. So I just think that they sometimes can put too much visceral public pressure onto drivers, because we shouldn't know that there's potentially a 5-race rule for Colapinto.
Yeah.
We shouldn't know that. If that is the case, that should have been kept so deep underground into the engineering briefing room of Alpine that we shouldn't know that.
Yeah.
That's never going to be helpful to Colapinto's performance if the whole world knows that he's only got 5. Why the hell are we knowing that?
I mean, what you mentioned when you were talking about Bortoleto and you said it's a great team dynamic that they have, it shows. I mean, Bortoleto hasn't scored any points up until this race. It doesn't seem like he's been put under pressure in the same way that Frankie Colapinto and Jack Doohan were. He still had a very supportive team environment, which led him to today doing very, very well and hopefully doing well for the rest of the races as well and getting points, while Frankie Colapinto in Alpine is just under this like very toxic environment, intense delegation from Flavio Briatore, and it would make sense why he would crash, because he'd probably already be under that sort of stress. It would make sense for him to not score any points because he's too scared to like try and do something different. So it has to do very much with the team environment.
We do have Silverstone coming up. I'm very excited for the British Grand Prix. Obviously,
it's our home race.
Exactly, I'm a dirty Brit, so I love the British Grand Prix. But I think there's even more exciting storylines coming through after this. So let's have a look at the championship standings after Austria. Nav, what's it all going? What's it looking like?
What do we want first? Do we want drivers or teams?
Oh, let's go with teams first.
Teams? Okay. Leading the way, we have McLaren on 417 points, followed very, very closely by Ferrari on 210, so a whole 207 points away. However,
listen, it's easy to let a few points slip out the net.
However, just 1 point behind them is Mercedes, who dropped down to P3 in the standings in this race as a result of the fact that obviously Kimi Antonelli retired and didn't score any points.
They do well in Silverstone, so watch that space. I think that could really do a jiggle around next time out.
Fourth in Constructors, we have Red Bull on 162 points, so they are 47 points off of Mercedes, therefore 48 points off P2 in the championship. And then in fifth place, we have Williams on 55 points. So they are 100 points off, 107 points specifically, off of Red Bull. So Red Bull are comfortably in P4.
Yeah.
Due to Max.
Due to Max, yeah. Thank you to Max. I'm sure you'll get a nice bonus and Tsunoda will get fired. In P6, we then have Racing Bulls, who are on 36 points, which is 19 behind Williams. Then we have Haas, who are on 29 points, so 7 behind Racing Bulls. Then, very close behind, we have Aston Martin, who are on 28 points, so there's only 1 point difference between Aston and Haas. Sauber are in 9th on 26 points, so only 2 points behind Aston, who are only 1 point behind Haas, so very, very close for that P7 position.
Yeah, really up, okay.
And then we have Alpine on 11 points, all scored by Pierre Gasly, and they are 15 points off Sauber in 9th, so they can catch up if they start scoring a bit more points, but currently P7 and P2 are very hotly contested positions.
Damn.
And then we move on to the driver standings. Obviously, we still have Piastri, who is leading the championship on 216 points. However, 15 points behind him, we have Lando Norris on 201.
That Canada moment, I said it at the time. I said that moment in Canada could make or break his time in the championship. He might look back in the winter season and say, that was one of the moments that I really lost it. So his win today was fantastic. But I actually forgot that he'd got no points from Canada. So when I looked at this, the championship table, I was like, wow, he's going to be really close. And I was like, never mind. 15 points is quite a lot to have to make up to someone that has the same car as you.
Yeah. And then in P3, we have Max Verstappen, who is on 155 points. So he is 46 points off of Lando Norris, obviously not scoring any points today as he retired.
That's a big deficit. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull that back. That's going to be tough.
Only 9 points behind him is George Russell on 146. So obviously we've got 3 races to go, 9 points between them for P3 in the championship. It could all change, and that clause in his contract could be activated.
You couldn't make it up. The fact they're so he's on George is on 146, Max is on 155 points. They're so close in the drivers' championship. They don't like each other. They had that drama in Barcelona, and now that there's all contract negotiations is being delayed because of Max, and George wants him to hurry up, and he wants Toto to choose him, and Max is pretending he doesn't know what's going on. You cannot write up. They're never going to be friends. They're never going to be friends. They can't do it.
Isn't that an Ariana Grande song?
We can't be friends.
There you go.
Yeah.
I knew
What's
it
the next
related.
line? I don't know. All right, great.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Well, P5 and P6 in the Drivers' Championship are occupied by the Ferrari drivers. In P5, we have Charles Leclerc on 119, and in P6, we have Lewis on 91. So there's 28 points between them.
He's not even in the Hundy Club.
Nope. No, not in the Hundy Club. And the man who replaced Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, Kimi Antonelli, takes up P7 on 63 points. So he is 28 points behind Lewis, who is 28 points behind Leclerc. We then have Alex Albon in 8th position on 42 points. and Esteban Ocon in 9th on 23. So they're still a bit far off, and making up the 10th position in the drivers' standings, we have Nico Hülkenberg on 22 points. Now 11th is Isaac Hadjar, who is on 21 points. So Hadjar is only 1 point away from being in the top 10 of the drivers' standings.
Go on, Hadji.
12 and 13 is Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso.
Ooh.
They're on the exact same points.
They are both on 14 points. Alonso's catch-up in the last 3 races has meant that he has equalled now Lance Stroll's points.
Good for him.
So
You know
no
Stroll was
one can
looking in
now
the mirror.
say that Stroll is carrying that team.
Stroll's looking at the mirror like, how the fuck did you let this happen?
Yeah. Obviously, Stroll did miss a race, though.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good point.
And he might still have issues with his wrist.
Which apparently is as a result of him punching a wall
Allegedly.
in the garage.
Yeah.
He does have a thing about this, doesn't
Yes,
he?
he shoved one of his engineers once,
we
and it was
saw
caught
it
on
live
cam.
on telly.
Yeah, outrageous.
He pushed someone, but he pushed
Really?
him. Yeah, he pushed him out of sight, so you couldn't see what happened. And the commentators were like, "We don't know what happened there." But it was like he shoved my man out the way.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
There was beef, but I don't know what the guy did back. You never know. They cut away. He
I
just
feel
punched
like you
him
can
back.
get away with a lot if you're a Nepo baby.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, but that's just not nice behaviour, is
No.
it?
Yeah, now answering your question is Carlos Sainz is in 14th position on
Ouch.
13 points, so only 1 behind the Astons. And then in 15th place is Liam Lawson on 12 points, so only 1 behind Sainz and 2 behind the Astons. Pierre Gasly then takes 16th position on 11, so only 1 point again. So that P13 in the championship is also a very hotly contested position, not that anyone is particularly after it.
Drama we didn't ask for.
Because Yuki Tsunoda is also after that position on 10 points. So position 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17 is split by a total of 4 points.
Bloody hell. Sonoda should not be in that gaggle. Of
No,
people,
he
really, but
really,
here we are.
really should not.
This is our reality.
I mean, he's on 10 points and Verstappen is on 155. It's
Ouch.
rather outrageous.
as I say, sometimes it's easy to let some points slip here and there.
Yeah.
you know?
Somebody's getting fired.
Maybe he'll be in contention for a Cadillac seat as well. Who knows?
No.
18th place in the driver's standings is Ollie Behrman on 6 points, and getting his first points of the season today, Gabriel Bortoleto takes the 19th position.
Come on,
with
Gabby.
4 points.
Gabby the Great.
We've got 2 drivers who haven't got any points, and they are Jack Doohan and Franco Colapinto, both of Alpine.
Somebody's getting fired. Wow. It's funny because like sometimes when you're looking at things, the landscape of Formula One, when you're watching a race, you kind of don't think about the driver's points because you just look at, McLaren are running away with it and, Alpine is struggling. But then looking at that breakdown, it's very interesting. It really highlights who's doing it and who's definitely not.
Yeah, especially when you look at Ferrari. Because when you look at constructors, them being in P2 looks amazing. And then you look at the driver standings, and actually, Verstappen is ahead. McLaren first, and then Russell, and then Verstappen, and then it gets to the Ferraris.
Yeah.
And then right behind them is Antonelli, who's a rookie.
Now, here's a fun thing for you. I have also started a Grand Prix podium tracker.
Ooh.
Now, obviously, we haven't had today's Grand Prix podium, but we've got
we don't
a
care about
tracker
any
for
of the other
first-
standings you've done. All we care about is this.
We've got now a tracker started for the first 10 races. So who do you think is our overall, who do you think we've given Grand Prix to the most?
Tsunoda.
For Grand Prix.
Oh, Grand Prix.
Ooh.
Antonelli.
Piastri.
So you think we've given it mostly to Piastri and you think Antonelli?
Yes.
So that is in theory the driver that we think has been the best
Yeah.
over these last 10 races. Okay, it is Kimi Antonelli. He
Damn.
has had Grand Prix twice, once in Miami and once in Canada. Oscar Piastri, we've only given it to him once in Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
So we need to put a bit more respect on the name of the championship
To be
leader.
fair, though, I feel like with Grand Prix, it's not just... Because if we did it every time he won, then he would get it all the time.
Yeah.
The point is our podium is who's really done something proper. I mean, Hülkenberg got a fucking one. So, it's...
And
he deserved it.
I agree.
Yeah.
But my point is that we should put some respect on Piastri's name, but he would have to do something exponentially fantastic.
And I think if I remember correctly, Antonelli, we gave him Grand Prix for the time that was it when he qualified pole position
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sprint, and then for the next time was when he actually got on podium, which is amazing for someone at his age.
Yeah. Now, who do you think our overall grand is?
Leclerc.
Okay, Leclerc.
I've said that with so much vim, it's definitely
really
going to be wrong.
Albon.
Albon.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So Albon, we gave Grand to twice. And we actually gave it to him twice in a row, Miami and Imola.
Oh, damn.
Look at us go.
Charles Leclerc is our overall Grand.
Come
He has had
on.
it 3 times. He had it in Saudi Arabia, Monaco, and Spain. So again, he's had it twice in a row with Monaco and Spain.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think with Charles, because his car is limited in terms of what he's able to show on track, I think that he's had a lot of very grand performances.
Yeah.
He's done really well, maximised the car, but it's difficult to give him Grand Prix unless he was to like win a race.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense. That's why I also always end up being like, maybe Charles could be Grand.
Although Albon is joint in second with Ollie Behrman, who has also had it twice, once in
wow.
China and once in Bahrain.
Oh, okay.
Now, who do you think our overall prick is?
I will say either Tsunoda or Lewis.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think Lewis. I feel like we've given Lewis quite a few because of his
Yeah.
hoonas here and there.
Okay. We have given it to Lewis twice.
Mm-hmm.
We have given it to Tsunoda once.
Once.
We've given it to Lando twice.
Oh.
But I will say, so I've colour-coded them all to match like team colours and stuff. And we've given it to Lewis in Australia. We gave it to Lewis in Saudi Arabia. And then in Miami, we gave it to Ferrari strategists. So Ferrari are on there 3 times.
Yeah.
We've given it to Lando twice, once for Bahrain and once for Canada. We gave it to Franco Colapinto in Imola. I'm guessing because it was his first race and he just
It was
did not
because
perform.
we knew the criteria Flavio Briatore had asked for, and we felt he'd failed.
Yeah.
So what else could we do? Our hands were tied.
So while we have 3 reds in the prick category for Lewis, and Ferrari strategists, we have 4 dark blues for Red Bull racing.
Oh.
So in China, we gave it to Lawson, much against my feelings.
High five.
In Japan, we gave it to Horner and Marco.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I remember.
Because of the dramatic switch
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Monaco, we gave it to Yuki Tsunoda, and in Spain, we gave it to Max. So basically,
Why?
everyone's had a piece of the pie.
Why did we give it to Max in Spain? What happened?
Wait, what did happen? I forgot.
I think that's when
It's when he crashed into George,
Russell.
essentially.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, Red Bull are overall our pricks. Because
Yeah, it makes
everyone's had a
sense.
piece of it.
Makes sense. Red Bull and Ferrari.
Yeah, Red Bull and Ferrari.
It
Closely
so
followed
doesn't
by
make sense.
Lando
I mean,
Norris.
the individual case by case basis, they do make sense.
Yeah.
But also, like, they've had the most high profile prickish moments here and there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we're looking at individual people, it's joint between Lewis and Lando.
Yeah.
Fair. That makes sense.
Peak.
Well, with that, should we move on to our Grand Prix podium?
No, we need to do Reams recap first.
Good God, I'm so sorry. What am I doing?
Right, Reams recap.
Let's do it. Lando has a comeback after Canada.
Lando Norris comes back with a drive after a break last week and after a disappointing Canadian Grand Prix, and he kept a cool head as he battled it out with Piastri on track, managing to qualify in pole position on Saturday and then ultimately winning the race on Sunday.
Lap 1 sees Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli leaving the race.
Rookie Kimi Antonelli went into panic mode after ending up in the midfield during the start of the race at the Austrian Grand Prix, and this panic mode led him to crash into Max Verstappen, which led them both to end with a do not finish on the first lap of the race.
Your man Sainz is a big fat failure.
Oh.
Carlos Sainz gets by on his looks.
That's it. The end. The end.
We can never upload any other podcast.
And with that, Alex Albon also gets a DNF.
Alex Albon finishes in a very disappointing place at the Austrian Grand Prix with a DNF due to Williams' own failures, ultimately making him not a good boy.
Ferrari, just a bit meh.
Ferrari seems to skate by as it looks from afar that they're doing very well, ending up in P2 in the Constructors' Championship, but ultimately they're just being mid.
Liam Lawson out-qualifies and outscores every other Red Bull and Racing Bulls driver in Austria.
That's big dick energy.
I know.
Liam Lawson does a great race, and I have to say this because Nav is making me say it because he is her favourite driver on the track.
Where's his good boy?
Good boy.
Gabriel Bortoleto and Nico Hülkenberg put out a show for the fans.
Gabriel Bortoleto, the real good boy of the Austrian Grand Prix.
That's it.
That's it.
Poor Nico
That was all you
Hülkenberg.
got.
Yes.
Right, well,
okay.
that's it then. Shall we move on to the Grand Prix podium?
Yes. Are we doing the 3, 2, 1 thing?
Yeah, I like it when we do it all at the same time. Right, should we start off with prick?
Ooh, prick is a tough one.
Right, are we ready to say prick?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Yuki Antonelli.
Oh,
We both said Antonelli.
What did you
Who'd
say?
you say?
Yuki Tsunoda.
Ooh.
I was gonna say Yuki Tsunoda.
Oh, go on, change your mind.
Okay, but
No,
Okay.
wait. Don't change it until you hear both of our arguments.
okay.
I went with Antonelli purely because I actually really wanted to see Max racing. I mean, even though he qualified P7, I think he would have ended up really putting in a fight, and I think he would have, at the very least, made it to podium. And the fact that he wasn't able to because Antonelli accidentally crashed into him made it very disappointing. So that's the only reason. It's not actually like Antonelli's not really been a prick. It's just what he's done is just ruined part of the race.
Okay, so she just said something that supports my argument in that Antonelli isn't actually a prick. However, Yuki Tsunoda, the only Red Bull driver there to race for Red Bull since Antonelli accidentally knocked Max out and he ended 2 laps down. Just remember, he came into that Red Bull seat in Japan swinging his dick saying that he was going to get on the podium and he was going to be better than Lawson and everything like that. And he has been dog poo.
True.
He is so low down on the driver's standings that he is battling with people like Ollie Behrman and Lance Stroll.
Oh, why do you have to put them down?
Facts are facts. He's in a championship-winning car and the others are not.
Well, I was edging more towards Kimi Antonelli, is that Kimi Antonelli now carries with him a 3-place grid penalty going into the British Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Which,
yeah.
for me, is worse than what Yuki Tsunoda has done
Yeah,
performance-wise.
but Yuki Tsunoda carries with him the burden of being a bit shit.
In this car. It was a genuine mistake from Kimi Antonelli, but the fact that he knocked out a driver that was going to be really exciting to watch in that race, because Max has done previously brilliant performances at the Austrian Grand Prix, but on top of that, he's now already fudged his own race result before he's even started for the British Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli. Yuki was poo today, I'll give you that. But he's got demons that he's fighting.
He's been consistently poop.
Kimi Antonelli, yeah, exactly. Kimi Antonelli had a bit of an off day. Oh wait, no, I'm not defending him. He's had a shit day, and it's him. What am I? I completely forgot what I was arguing for there.
He's not only ruined his own race and his future race, he also ruined Max Verstappen's race.
Yeah.
Fine, Kimi Antonelli is prick. Shall we go for grand?
Yes. Ooh.
Yes. 3, 2, 1.
Liam Lawson.
Bortoleto.
That was Liam
Hey.
Lawson.
That was-
High five,
No, we have a chance to argue it.
Well, you know I'm not going to change my answer, so...
That is true, but you might.
I didn't change my answer last time.
No, but you might now.
Right.
Okay, I think it's Liam Lawson.
Yes.
Yes, he finished P6.
He got 8 points.
Yeah.
And he outscored his teammate, who finished in P12 with 0
And he
points.
out-qualified Max.
And he was also the highest point scoring. He was the only point scoring Red Bull in that whole race.
Yeah, but I mean,
Are you going to change your answer, bitch?
No.
You're on the wrong side of the pitchfork
Dutch,
on this
please.
no, but please let me speak. I think it's Gabriel Bortoleto because I mean it's the first time that he's scored points this season. He qualified in a very good place. I forgot where he qualified, but I know
Brilliant.
he qualified. You know, he made it to Q3 for the first time. And he was battling it out with Alonso, which was very like high tension, and he didn't crash into him and didn't ruin Piastri or Lando's race doing it. He managed to overtake Hülkenberg, and I think he just put on a very good race. So for me, it's Bortoleto.
Do you change your answer?
No.
Liam Lawson is grand.
Are we ready for Grand Prick, ladies?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Gabriel
Bortoleto.
Bortoleto.
Lando Norris.
Oh.
Oh.
Did
Gabriel
he have that
Bortoleto.
much of a grand prick race?
But I mean, he won.
Boring, it's Bortoleto.
Bortoleto! Gabby the Great! Slays them all!
But Lando Norris, I mean, Piastri was very close to him at so many points during this race, and they very much could have ended up in a crash, both of them. And compared to his performance in Canada, he just kept a very cool head this race, and I think that's what made him win.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that was a Grand Prix performance.
For
Meanwhile,
me,
Gabriel Bortoleto in a kick Sauber got points. The first of the
But
season.
that's why he's grand.
That's why he's Grand Prix.
also, Gabriel Bortoleto, you didn't know this information, I do. Gabriel Bortoleto qualified for the Austrian Grand Prix in P8. Behind him was Kimi Antonelli in P9, and ahead of him was Max Verstappen in P7. So those two collided on the first lap. Gabriel Bortoleto was able able to pack up his stuff and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Was able to have a great race. He was communicating effectively. They had Hülkenberg switch positions because Gabriel Bortoleto was having a lot of pace that race. They've been able to implement upgrades, and they have been able to give him the time. And my God, has that F2 champion been able to show today that he can race a car.
Yeah.
So I think give him his flowers, because we gave Nico Hülkenberg P5 he got in Barcelona. We gave him Grand Prix because we realised that was a standout motherfucker performance of a kick Sauber Nickelodeon green slime motherfucker.
Yeah.
So we're giving it to Gabriel Bortoleto, and you can't change my mind. Lando Norris has won, and he's got the fastest car on the grid. And it's not green.
Preach, Queen.
Thank you. Dutch, please. It's the only way I'm going to finish my
Love the
sentence now.
mascot on.
So there is our Grand Prix podium. As our prick, we have Kimi Antonelli.
Yes.
As our grand, we have Liam Lawson. Woohoo!
Yes.
And as our Grand Prix, we have Gabriel Bortoleto.
And clearly Gabriel Bortoleto was fueled by Piastri today.
Yeah.
Yeah. My God.
Dutch, please.
And that is it for this episode. Next week, we will be returning to your ears for the British Grand Prix.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, unfortunately, Kimi Antonelli will be having a 3-place grid penalty.
But Fred Vasseur will most likely be back at the race.
Yes, and it will be the home race for drivers like Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Lando Norris,
Ooh.
Alex Ollie
Albon.
Behrman, kind of Alex Albon, yeah. And obviously team home races for a lot of teams as well. Yes, Reem, you have your hand up.
Sorry. Is Alex Albon, is he British?
Yeah, he is British, but he races under the Thai flag, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because his family are also Thai. He races under the Thai flag because his family's from Thailand, so he's very proud of that.
Okay.
But also, when he was coming up the formulas, by being able to race under the Thai flag, he was able to get Thai financial backing to help his career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
But he doesn't have like a proper Thai Grand Prix home race. So
Yeah.
the closest to him, I think, is Singapore.
Yeah.
But he can claim British as well.
Yeah, we don't mind. Whatever he wants.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure you tune in for the British Grand Prix episode, and make sure you follow us on our socials. We are, as I said at the beginning of the episode, available on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube. If you have enjoyed this episode and listening to it as much as we've enjoyed recording it, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review, engage with us. We'll engage back.
We do. Also, we've had a lot more people listening recently, and it means a lot because it's just us three working on this. We've asked for help. No one wants to give it. So
My sleep schedule is suffering.
Yeah. So thank you to anyone that's listening and everyone that's listening, and keep just doing all the nice things that you can do to help us, because we don't get paid.
Yeah.
Well, we do, but not by this.
Yeah. We're just recording this on the streets. Until next week, goodbye.
See you later!